On a foggy January morning in 1931, a groundskeeper made a small discovery that would rip through Atlanta's high society. A parked car, and in it, two bodies, a revolver on the passenger floor. The noise created by this discovery was so loud that the entire city was alerted. It wasn't just because it was in a rich neighborhood. That car was the same car you could find in Briarcliff, the Candler family's 42-acre palace. To put it simply, the place was built to impress, to outshine, but maybe, just maybe, it was made to hide the slow rot underneath its marble and gold. Briarcliff was the theater of a family's ambitions and failures. To understand it, you would have to start with Coca-Cola. Asa Griggs Candler began as a pharmacist, buying a patent medicine formula for a few bucks and selling it into an American craving. He was a salesman who sold his lifestyle and little promises wrapped in marketing that turned a soda into a national icon. Coca-Cola was getting famous. Wealth followed them fast. By the early 1900s, the Candlers had everything money could buy. They had houses, staff, status, but money doesn't steady all things. It also makes some things even more apparent. It shows who somebody really is. Asa Candler Jr., known as Buddy, stood at the center of Briarcliff's story. He was equal parts charm and volatility, brilliant at machines, hopeless with restraint. Buddy loved motion, cars, engines, speed. He chased projects like flames, and when a thing thrilled him, he poured himself into it. But when the thrill faded, he left ruins behind. His talents and impulsiveness shaped everything that he touched. Buddy's ambitions produced spectacles. He built the Atlanta Speedway, an audacious racetrack that lost more than it earned. He spent freely, often ignoring caution and counsel from anybody. The Speedway failed, but the land later turned into Candler Field, the seat of Atlanta's modern airport. So, basically, a better legacy of a failed dream turned into public good. Money had bought him power, but not the discipline to keep it. And then there was Briarcliff, a Georgian revival showpiece built to be seen and admired. 40-plus rooms, 10 bathrooms when most homes had one, marble fireplaces carved to display wealth, glass houses, 2 swimming pools, with one being open to the public and paired with a Coca-Cola stand. But it wasn't the end. There were tennis courts, stables, servant apartments, a private golf green. Every detail was an announcement that almost yelled out, "Look here, be impressed." Buddy didn't stop at comfort. He escalated. He added Dubby's Hall, a 3-story music room gilded in gold leaf and dominated by a pipe organ so vast it sounded like a storm. Briarcliff became a stage, and Buddy refused small gestures. His life work was all about having these results, status, spectacle, excess. Guests came. Politicians showed up. Society figures arrived in silken suits. Parties at Briarcliff were events designed to grab attention. But the house harbored eccentricity alongside of luxury. Buddy collected exotic animals. Elephants named after family products, big cats, monkeys, and he kept a menagerie that felt less curated than compulsive. A baboon made headlines once when it caused trouble. The household's animals were charming until they weren't. Magic drew Buddy even more than motors or animals. He built secret rooms and hidden doors, stocked the mansion with vanishing cabinets and levitation apparatus, and hosted private magic shows that blurred performance and obsession. For Buddy, the illusion was a refuge. The mansion's 3rd-floor ballroom transformed into a private museum of tricks and theatrical engineering. Guests who loved spectacle found themselves at home. Those who came for polite society sometimes left unsettled by the oddness behind almost everything. But if Briarcliff was a stage, grief was the emotion that wrote the script. Buddy's first wife, Helen, was a steadying presence. When she died in 1927, something essential broke. Her death sent Buddy deeper into risk. He drank more. He threw himself into projects with frantic energy. Parties shrank and then vanished. The mansion's music and laughter started turning into those awkward and long silences. It was an estate beginning to suffocate under its own story, and some may even say its own legend. Buddy remarried, hoping marriage might steady him. Florence tried to anchor the life that was chaotic, but the cracks ran deep. The staff thinned, Maintenance lagged, the great organ, the thunderous statement of intent, sat unused for long stretches. The show had lost momentum and the acting grew thin. In the quieter years, Buddy made room for a new kind of companion. Jose Cruz, a young Filipino magician Buddy brought to America by Buddy himself. Jose lived in an apartment above the garage, maintained the illusion machinery, tutored Buddy in tricks, and became for a time the estate's private magician of wonder. He was talented, solitary, and dependent in ways that made his position delicate. The world outside Briarcliff's gates didn't welcome someone like Jose the way the Buddy did. Social prejudice and class lines wove through every choice, and Jose lived inside of that tension. Jose began a relationship with a local woman, Gladys Fricks. The details of their time together was fogged by time and by the discretion of the era. Interracial relationships carried a weight that caused gossip and a lot of scorn. But on the night of January 17, 1931, their private story ended in violence. They had driven to a secluded spot near the mansion's putting green. In the morning, they were found inside the parked car. Gladys was dead and Jose slumped beside her with a revolver within reach. A note suggested a suicide pact, but the evidence told a messier tale. Only one shell casing was found at the scene. The handwriting on the note looked like Jose's despite attempts at disguise, and the revolver belonged to Buddy. It was apparently taken without permission. The coroner's jury concluded Jose shot Gladys and then himself. The verdict closed the case in official terms, but it didn't stop the questions. Newspapers decided to put focus on the scandal. Reporters painted the scene based on their feelings and drama. It was all about the ruined reputation, the exotic servant, forbidden love, and murder-suicide. The city's curiosity turned to condemnation, and Briarcliff's social calendar died overnight. Magic shows went dark, the organ fell silent, and guests stopped coming altogether. And then the bigger forces arrived. The Great Depression tightened its grip on the nation and on fortunes. Buddy's father died in 1929, removing the last stabilizing hand. The family had already sold Coca-Cola years earlier, leaving Buddy with wealth but severed from the enterprise that had built their name. The mansion, magnificent but costly, began to feel like a liability instead of a legacy. Briarcliff declined slowly but surely. Staff cutbacks led to repairs delayed until small problems turned big. Buddy redirected his energies into designs for mausoleums and cemetery architecture. Work that made him turn his attention from performance to permanence and from music to stone. People who saw Buddy in his later years remembered a smaller man than the one who threw great parties. Someone who was polite, depleted, tinkering alone in rooms that once rang with music. He still loved spectacle, but the audience had gone. After the scandal, the city's appetite cooled. Newspapers moved on, agents and salvage crews replaced chauffeurs, and rooms that once hosted guests stood empty. The failed Speedway's land eventually fed the city's growth. It was a private ruin, folding into public life, and the Kendler name survived more as a landmark than as a story of a family. Briarcliff's tragedy isn't just a scandalous gossip, it's something more than that. It's a human tale about a man who used wealth to build beauty and noise, only to find that none of it would help him in his sorrow. The mansion stands as a warning that money can buy happiness, but on its own, it can't repair a broken heart. The scandal was loud, but the human cost echoes longer and quieter than any trumpet. The Candler's mansion was a marvel, and with time it became a ruin, a place where luxury and grief met, and where the most expensive things couldn't buy a simple, steady happiness. Make sure to show us your support by subscribing to the channel and liking this video.